Hey everybody, welcome back to theclinicaltrialsguru.com. Again, it's theclinicaltrialsguru.com. Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe to YouTube, subscribe to the blog. Also, I'm pretty accessible. You can reach me, call or text 949-415-6256, or you can email me, dan@theclinicaltrialsguru.com. I'll get back to you. I'll create a video response for questions if you have any, or if you just want to chat. Also, I'm on like every social media network you can think of. So Instagram and Snapchat are amongst my two most recent favorite. And this video is like a little appetizer for a more in-depth article I'm going to be writing for my sponsor of this blog, Intralinks Via. You should see their logo. I think it's going to be here. It might be here. I don't know. This is a timely video, right? Because we're in the middle of transition right now in this industry. And new technologies emerge constantly, especially now. It seems like they're accelerating rapidly, right? And this industry, the clinical research industry, has always been one that's slow to adapt, and for good reason. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of stakeholders involved. You've got the sponsors, you've got the CROs, you've got the research sites, you've got the CRAs, you've got the patients, you've got the doctors who refer patients, then you get the principal investigators, then you have all the other vendors, like Intralinks is one of them. So there's a lot of stakeholders involved in this industry, and whenever new technology emerges, obviously it's in the best interest of the industry to adapt and to use these changes to increase efficiency, increase productivity, and just streamline the whole clinical trial process and the drug development process. So we're seeing this happening right now, and by right now I mean August 2015. So we're seeing this happening right now with the virtual workspaces. So we're having risk-based monitoring, we're having a lot of studies that are using remote monitoring, we're having a lot of studies that are using adaptive trials. The data that we get from these studies is more refined, and it's a little more detailed, and it paints a more clear picture. It's everyone's goal to have a clinical trial run smoother, enroll on time, and then end on schedule, as opposed to having clinical trials that just drag on and on and on, and we're not getting treatments and cures faster. We're not having sponsors submit their NDAs, new drug applications, to the FDA because their trials are delayed. So this just costs a lot of money, whole lot of efficiency. So because of that, they have things like remote monitoring, risk-based monitoring. This reminds me very much of EDC, electronic data capture, just a decade ago. So rewind back to 2005, because right now it's 2015. Back to 2005, when I was just getting started in this industry, we were going through a change, much like we are now, where we were transitioning from paper-based CRFs, which are case report forms, to electronic data capture. And the industry obviously wanted to push this because it's more efficient, they can get the data faster, and it actually paved the way for risk-based monitoring and remote monitoring and adaptive protocols. That actually paved the way because they meaning the sponsor, can analyze the data coming in the EDC system in real time, as opposed to having to wait for the physical CRF pages to reach them by FedEx or by mail after the monitor has reviewed them. I mean, it was just a really long process, but that was the way it was done for decades. And all of a sudden, new technology came, and we were able to become more efficient by using EDC. And the sites were not exactly thrilled with having to switch. I was one of them, right? When I was a coordinator back in 2005, I was used to doing paper-based CRFs, and as we started moving on to EDC systems, at first I was a little hesitant to use it, but of course I had no choice either. Number one, I didn't want to do the extra training. Who needs to do training to know what they're doing with EDC, right? Well, there's no way around that. You had to do it. Then you were able to get queried quicker. So you can get a query in real time as opposed to getting queried when your monitor came to the site, which was only once a month. So it was not necessarily good for me as a coordinator. It meant more work for me. but it did mean a smoother trial, a more efficient trial. And you know what it also meant that wasn't readily apparent right away? It meant I would receive my payments quicker. And as a study coordinator / research clinic owner at that time, and a brand new research clinic owner, I learned really quickly that, hey, this technology, this EDC thing that I'm kind of resistant about, is actually helping me get my payments on time, or faster, much faster than I've been getting. So as soon as I realized that, I was sold on this thing. So I think the same exact thing is going to apply to virtual workspaces. I think sites are going to get paid faster because trials are going to be run smoother. I mean, we can already see it. Virtual workspaces increase study startup times a lot, significantly. You don't have to fax things anymore. You don't have to email. It's just done instantaneously. If there's changes that need to be made, rather than FedExing something to a regulatory specialist at the CRO and then them telling you, hey, this is not good, you need to revise this, which, by the way, happens all the time during study startup. They'll be able to look at it right away and say, hey, please make this revision, and then we're good. So once sites realize that it's going to help you get to your site initiation visit quicker, I think they'll be more open to adopting this technology. So that's another similarity I see between virtual workspaces and EDC systems from a decade ago. So there was a lot of hesitation, and a lot of investigators, a lot of research folks thought that EDC was never going to be able to replace paper records, and it wasn't, right? EDC is not meant to replace paper-based records, source-based records. In fact, it's just meant to replace paper-based CRFs. So a lot of the hesitation and the resistance from researchers was misplaced, right? And the same thing I'm seeing happening now with risk-based monitoring and this whole use of virtual workspaces. So what a virtual workspace is, Intralinks VIA is a perfect example. And by the way, if you're interested in learning more about how to use this, just email me, dan@theclinicaltrialsguru.com. I can get you in touch with them. What a virtual workspace is, it is exactly what it sounds like. It allows you to collaborate with your researchers, your fellow team from your site, and also with your CRA remotely. So if you have a source visit that was just completed, you have a study coordinator complete the source. This does not replace the paper. Again, very similar to EDC, and it allows the data to be reviewed instantaneously in these virtual workspaces by the CRA. So upload the source document after a visit is done. Immediately the monitor can see, review. So it's just another step in the right direction for the industry, and they're very similar. History repeats itself. The evolution of the virtual workspace, which is what we're going through right now, is very similar to EDC. Back in 2005, people did not want to switch over. Now, 2015, most studies are using EDC. Same thing with virtual workspaces. I predict in 5 years, by 2020, most studies are going to be using virtual workspaces. And it's not going to replace the paper source, or the physical reg binder, but it's going to allow the site to store a copy of it in the cloud, in a secured cloud, and it might take care of the archiving process and the archiving dilemma once and for all, which is actually good for another article all in and of itself, is the cost associated with archiving study records for 20, 30 years after a study is completed. So different sponsors have different regulations for how long a site needs to keep the medical records archived. I predict virtual workspaces is going to eliminate the need for that, as long as everything is uploaded in a server. So that's literally another benefit I just thought of right now. Sites are not going to be required to keep physical records from the study, at least I hope. And this is all speculation again and predictions. And this may not happen by 2020, but I can definitely see this happening soon, especially with the FDA CFR Part 11, which talks about electronic signature, electronic source. This would apply right into that little arena. And this is another benefit to sites and to researchers, because how many of you research owners or principal investigators want to be stuck holding records literally for the rest of your life. I mean, 30 years, you'll probably outlive that, but almost the rest of your life is going to be dedicated to keeping physical copies of records from the clinical trials you did. And guess what? If your site closes or the research company you work for closes, those records are still your responsibility. So I think virtual workspaces could possibly eliminate that as well. Just another hidden cost that we don't think about. So all in all, I see a lot of similarities between virtual workspaces and EDC from 2005 and now in 2015. I'm seeing virtual workspaces transition, the same kind of thing happening. Risk-based monitoring, this plays perfectly into that. It's another technology, another disruptor in the industry. Disruptor, I think I said that right. And we got to get used to it. We got to adapt, and I think at the end of the day, it's better for the industry, it's better for the sites, better for the sponsors, better for the patients, better for everybody. So thank you for watching. Stay tuned for my Collaborista blog article on this topic, and keep your questions coming. Dan at theclinicaltrialsguru.com. Take care.